Hello and welcome. I am Thomas Porteous and you are watching NewsX World. Let's take a look at some of the top stories this hour. Shock and anger are growing as 26 tourists are killed in Indian-administered Kashmir, with reports suggesting that some are wounded and in critical condition. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has cut his visit to Saudi Arabia to return to Delhi. A 6.2 magnitude earthquake has hit Turkey's Istanbul, leading thousands of people to evacuate their buildings in the Turkish city. People in the region have been warned against entering damaged buildings. Pope Francis's body has been moved from his residence in the Vatican to lie in state at St. Peter's Basilica. Mourners are now filing across the coffin, which will stay in front of the papal altar during the 3 days of public mourning. President Donald Trump says China's tariffs will drop substantially, but not to zero if a deal emerges. The comment marks his sharpest softening after weeks of a 145 levy threats. A Russian drone blast hit a bus in Marknet, killing 9 and injuring over 30. London ceasefire talks downgrade as US Secretary of State Marco Rubio and US Envoy Steve Witkoff skip the talks, with General Kellogg now at the table in London. Israeli airstrikes torches a Jaffa school in Gaza City, killing at least 10 displaced people according to reports. Another strike blasts a children's hospital as Wednesday's death toll soars to 20 according to reports. Iran's top diplomat Abbas Araghchi arrives in Beijing at China's invite. Both sides will hash out bilateral ties and regional hotspot issues. In Canada, new polls show Mark Carney's Liberals slipping ahead with days to go before general election. Ontario swings Conservative as surges in the West. Our top story today, a deadly terror attack has shaken India-administered Kashmir. On April the 22nd, terrorists opened fire in the well-known Himalayan town of Paragram, a popular tourist destination, killing 26 tourists and leaving several others in critical condition. As per official sources, a team of the National Investigation Agency, led by an Inspector General, reached terror-hit Paragram, and the team is now assisting the local police in the probe. Reports suggest that 4 terrorists carried out the attack, 2 from Pakistan and 2 local residents of Kashmir. The Indian security agencies have revealed that the 4 terrorists suspected are Ashif Shakib, Asif Fauji, Suleiman Shah aka Musa, and Abu Talha aka Yunus. The 4 suspects are believed to be operatives of the Resistance Front, a Lashkar-e-Taiba proxy. Home Minister Amit Shah visited the site of the terror attack in Paragram, receiving an on-the-ground briefing. He also visited the victims in the hospital. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi returned to New Delhi after cutting short his trip to Saudi Arabia. Upon arrival, he held a brief meeting at the airport to review the situation with External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, and Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri and other senior officials. Additionally, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh stated that the accused will soon face a strong and decisive response. The international community has reacted with outrage. US President Donald Trump called the incident deeply disturbing and reaffirmed America's support for India. Leaders from Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, Italy, and the United Kingdom, Israel, New Zealand, Australia, Bangladesh, and the Maldives have also voiced their support for India in the wake of this tragedy. We are joined by Major A.K. Sawach, defence expert, to discuss this situation further. Thank you very much for joining us. I want to get your initial reaction to this tragic, some calling it massacre in Kashmir. Some are saying this attack came from nowhere, completely unprecedented. What are your thoughts, Major General Sawach?
No, see, this is no doubt. This is an action perpetrated by Pakistan ISI and Pakistan Army. This has been done by the TRF, the Resistance Force, which is nothing else but offshoot of Lashkar-e-Toba. Now they have very cleverly selected time when J.D. Vance, Vice President of US, is here, so that they can give a more international coverage. And they have selected also a place which is basically a tourist spot, Pahalgam, so that it will hit the tourism of Kashmir, because from here only the Amarnath Yatra will start from 3rd July, and they managed to kill 26 tourists. But they have forgotten that India will now give a strong response. And this has been now done by Pakistan Army and Pakistan ISI, because there are about 400 to 500 terrorists still sitting in a launch pad in the training areas and in launch pad of POK. So the point is, as on today, these terrorists possibly have entered through Rajouri Punch and then crossed the Pir Panjal and then came to Pahalgam area, where they have carried out this brutal accident and incident. Now they will be punished for what they have done. There is no doubt about it. But the Indian government has taken a very serious view. Indian government knows that they have been basically perpetrated by Pakistan ISI and Pakistan Army, and they must be punished, because you have to raise the cost. Otherwise, Pakistan keep on abating, aiding and training these terrorists and keep on sending them, whom it calls as a strategic asset. And
Yes.
also remember that, what has happened is that Pakistan itself is in problem. The political instability, economic crisis, terrorism increasing in terms of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and also Balochistan Liberation Army fighting a freedom struggle, relationship with Taliban, government in Afghanistan not good. They want to divert that attention. Hence, possibly they have done this sort of a terrorist action in Jammu and Kashmir.
Yes, Major General Sawach, obviously some of these suspects are still being searched for. What have you made of the Indian government's response so far, and also the Indian armed forces in looking for the perpetrators?
What is the strategy of Indian army and Indian government as on today? It is a multi-pronged strategy. One is to track down those terrorists which were involved in this heinous crime. They possibly are almost about 5 to 6 terrorists, and they have been already surrounded. The combing operation is going on. It looks like that in another few days they will be neutralized. That goes without saying. The second thing which is very important is that the action which Indian government need to take against Pakistan Army and ISI, who are the one who are been training and sending these terrorists. Now this will be a robust action which Indian government will take it. Time and place will be choose, and this time it will be very much robust than what it was taken earlier after Uri. We had a surgical strike where we killed about 40 terrorists. Now this time it will be a strong action, which will be in terms of casualties will be more. And second time when we have taken action, it was basically done as far as Balakot was concerned after Pulwama. But this time it is going to be much stronger.
Yes, Major General Sawach, this is obviously has been the biggest upscale in violence in 2 decades in Jammu and Kashmir, the biggest terrorist attack in India since the 2008 in Bombay. But why now have these militants launched a tragic attack like this?
As far as why they have launched this tragic and sort of operation or attack, because 3 things. One is they want to hit the tourism in Jammu and Kashmir. They feel it, the tourism is doing extremely well, and that is why they have basically hit the tourism and which will affect the economy of Jammu and Kashmir, which will affect the common people of Jammu and Kashmir. So that's why you find that common people in Jammu and Kashmir is on the road now. It is protesting against terrorists. And these terrorists are 90% which have come from Pakistan. These are not local terrorists. They may be one or two out of them, but out of 6, 7, almost 90% are the Pakistan type. So the point today is that why Pakistan is doing this. This is known to everyone. Pakistan feels that the Jammu and Kashmir is now developing. There is a democracy here. Elections have taken place in district development, panchayat election, Lok Sabha, and then assembly election. And as on today, there is a prosperity. Tourism is a record time. So they feel that this is going to hurt their own Jammu and Kashmir, where the people are on the roadside. Especially Muzaffarabad, Mirpur, Jhangat, Kotli, Dadrial, Pakistan, Poonch, they want to join India because they feel that Indian side of J&K is progressed quite a bit. So this is all been done by Pakistan Army just to divert the attention and also show to the POJK that there is still terrorism in India and also to the international community. But they will fail completely. India will give a strong response and there will be cost attached to what Pakistan Army had done. When it will be done, where it will be done, and what will be the shape and size of the operation which will be done is going to be decided at appropriate level. But certainly this time it will be robust and much stronger than what it was earlier. And the whole world community is with India. Majority of the country don't want the terrorism to grow, and therefore India will take a very strong action because the Modi government believes in taking a strong action, and they want to now send a message to Pakistan that enough is enough. If you do terrorist action in India, India will strongly respond to you, which you will remember throughout your life.
Yes. One final question. You've obviously mentioned there that India has pledged a strong response. What would be an appropriate response for a terrorist attack like this?
I can only say that it is difficult to discuss on a TV channel what can be a suitable response. But whatever judgment will be applied by the government of the day, they are going to discuss with the military commanders who are in the right place to decide where and when and what will be the quantum of the operation which will be done. But certainly one thing is there, that this time whatever the response will be there, it will be very robust and it will make the Pakistan react, and we will be prepared for all the contingency. But this time the response has to be much stronger than the one which earlier has been done. But yes, what will be shape, size, that possibly cannot be discussed on a TV channel. I'm sure the government will decide that. But one thing is very certain, the government is very keen to take a very strong action to teach a lesson to Pakistan Army and Pakistan ISI.
Yes. Major General AK Sawatch, thank you very much for joining us. We now move over to the Middle East, where Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has urged Hamas to release hostages still held in Gaza, calling it the main factor fueling Israeli attacks on the territory. Let's take a look at what he said.
كل يوم في مئات القتلى. ليش الناس نسلم الرهينة الأمريكية؟ طب يا أولاد الكلب سلموا اللي عندكم هذول وخلصونا من الشغلة. سدوا ذرائعهم خلصونا.
According to the Gaza Health Ministry, at least 39 bodies and 105 wounded people have arrived at Gaza Strip hospitals over the past 24 hours. The Palestinian Civil Defense said its emergency workers recovered 11 bodies after an Israeli attack that sparked a fire at a school sheltering displaced people in Gaza City. The Civil Defense also stated that a child was killed in Israeli airstrikes on a home in the northern Jabalia area, and another individual was killed in a similar incident in the southern city of Khan Yunis. 4 more people were killed in eastern Gaza City, and several remain trapped beneath the rubble. In a statement, the Foreign Minister of Germany, France and the UK have jointly called on Israel to adhere to international law by allowing the unhindered passage of humanitarian aid into Gaza. Reports also indicated that at least 50 Palestinians, including minors, women and previously released prisoners, have been detained by Israeli forces. A senior Hamas delegation is also en route to Cairo for renewed negotiations over a ceasefire in Gaza and the release of Israeli hostages. We are joined by our guest Ali M. Abushbak, independent Palestinian researcher located in Cairo, to discuss this further. Ali, thank you very much for joining us. I want to start briefly with the calls from Germany, the calls from the United Kingdom and from France for the unhindered passage of humanitarian aid into Gaza. This isn't new. What are your thoughts on and do you have do you think that this aid will reach Gaza, and how is it affecting people on the ground there?
Well, thank you so much for having me. The thing is, the horrific situation in Gaza, it's unrepresentable anymore. While the people are starving from the Israeli blockaded for the main corridor and main border that can that can enter the humanitarian aid from to Gaza. So since the 18th of March, Israel completely blockaded Gaza, which make the situation totally dire. People are starving and people are dying from the starvation. So I guess this demand from French foreign minister and from the UK also. So this is a significant call from the Israeli to enter the humanitarian aid, while the people are suffering from the lack of the substantial supplies for the Gaza. And if you will go on the ground, the price of the food, it's increasingly rising up, which the ordinary people can't manage it, which ordinary people can't purchase the single food or to survive, to continue their life. At the meantime, Israel continued the bombardment in Gaza, continued the airstrike against the civilians, places like a school, like hospital, like what we have seen last 2 weeks, that the Al-Ma'madani hospital, Israel targeted and giving them 20 minutes to evacuate the hospital. Yesterday also Israel targeted a shelter school for the people. As you know, that all the public places is turned to shelter for the people who are displaced and they don't have any alternative apartment or don't have any accommodation. So they turn to the public place to take that as a shelter for them. This is on one hand. On other hand, there is more than 100,000 Palestinian children. They are prohibited to go to school, and the education system is completely stopped since the 7th of October, when the Israel take the revenge from Hamas hit attack. So in my opinion, the demand of to lead the humanitarian aid to enter Gaza and to adhere to the international law, while the Israeli continuous violated the international law in Gaza and as well as in West Bank. Maybe they will find some hope for the Palestinian, for their resilience on the ground.
Yes. Ali, there are more reports coming out of the Gaza Strip of strikes on schools and a children's hospital. How reliable are these sources? Obviously, the Israelis would say that these sources are not reliable. How should people be looking at these and taking them for truth?
To targeting the Palestinian civilians place, it's that Hamas taking a human shield for these places and hiding behind the civilians. On social media, there is a several of activists. They are criticizing Hamas as the significant responsible of giving the Israeli justification to targeting and to hitting the public place. As you say, that Israel hit that Muhammad al-Durrah hospital that specialized for children in East Gaza in Al-Tifah neighborhood. I mean, according to my information, I have no, confirmed information, but on social media, people are criticizing Hamas if they took this such kind of places as a shield for them or no, and as well as Hamas launched a rocket into the Israelis area from the public places, which makes the Israeli defense forces to order the people to displace the area. So the responsible of the suffering, half of responsible that the practice of Hamas on the ground, which I don't, I have no, confirmed information about it, but most of social media activists criticized Hamas, and we witnessed that the people in Gaza protesting against Hamas behavior and pressurize Hamas to accept the deal with Israel. As today, also the delegation of Hamas heading to Cairo to discuss a new round of negotiation deal from the Cairo.
Ali M. Bushback, thank you very much for joining us. Pope Francis's funeral will take place on Saturday, the 26th of April in St. Peter's Square, with over 250,000 mourners expected. The Pope's body has now entered the St. Peter's Basilica after being carried across the St. Peter's Square. His body will lie in state at St. Peter's Basilica from Wednesday to Friday for public viewing. The Pope, who passed away on April the 21st at the age of 88, requested no pedestal or private viewing for cardinals. World leaders, including US President Donald Trump, French President Emmanuel Macron and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, will attend. Pope Francis will be buried at St. Mary's Major Basilica, the first pope in over a century to be laid rest outside of the Vatican, with only his name, Franciscus, on the tomb. Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re will lead his funeral rites. Following the service, the Vatican will enter a 9-day mourning period before a conclave is held to elect a new pope within the next 3 weeks. Some possible papal candidates include Cardinal Pietro Parolin, Luis Antonio Tagle, Fridolin Ambongo Bensingu, Peter Turkson, and Peter Erdo, among a few others. The College of Cardinals will gather in the Sistine Chapel to elect a successor, with many factors influencing the election process. We are joined by a guest to discuss this, Reverend Dr. Robi Kananchira, CMI Director of the Shovara Cultural Centre located here in New Delhi. Reverend, thank you very much for joining us. Pope Francis's body has obviously been moved from his residence in the Vatican to lie in state, with mourners expecting to flood in over the next few days. 250,000 mourners expected at his state funeral. What does this say? The sheer amount of people. What does this say about Pope Francis's character, given the amount of mourners that will be present in St. Peter's?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible.
Yeah. Can you visibility also is okay, no?
Pardon, sorry?
Can you see me also?
Yes, everything is well. Hear and
okay.
see you.
Yeah. So being the vicar and the Pope of the entire Catholic Church, it's actually the death of Pope Francis has saddened the entire Catholic family in the world. And not only Catholic families, all human beings who loves humanity, who takes the values of Christianity, means the truth, justice, equality, and fraternity, love and compassion, and all those unforgiveness and all those biblical human values which were exemplary activated in this Pope Francis. And he was so generous to show that kindness and compassion and generosity and forgiveness, and to everyone, those who were mourning, those who were crying, those who were in grief, in not only in Catholic families, but in everywhere in this world. So now tens of thousands of pilgrims have arrived in Rome to mark this death of Pope Francis. You know that?
Yes.
And he is still living in the hearts of the millions. And now when he leaves us, now they really realize the depth of his presence, the value of his presence. And he was a compassionate pope. He was a loving pope, always kept the people, those who were denied their presence in public, especially today's newspapers in different countries have shown a picture. A man, one who was having full of these wounds in his body, was embraced by Pope Francis.
Yes.
And means he was an embodiment of compassion, and he used to cry with them, those who were crying. And that's why recent months and weeks he was continuously speaking for the victims of war in Ukraine and even Gaza, in the Palestine Israel war and Ukraine Russian war. And he was continuously pleading, even in the last message, means this Sunday message, Easter Sunday message, though he was really struggling to speak, the last words were of keeping peace, maintaining peace in those areas. And that's why he can be called, he is an apostle of peace.
Yes.
He's an apostle of peace and harmony. So that's why everyone who loves humanity, who loves human being, feels that his death is a great loss. So that vacuum, that his smile was an all-embracing smile, It was an all-embracing smile that comforted many. When he embraced a man who cannot walk, a man who is neglected, he was embracing the entire humanity. When he embraced a child who was rushed to hug him, and these policemen and the army people, they were trying to put that boy back to his place, he was welcoming him as if Christ once did, told the disciples that let the children come to me. And he
Yes.
was embracing that child, that moment, the entire human being and that children, those who are neglected all over the world, were embraced. That's love, unconditional love, forgiving love, compassionate love. That is the love of Christ. The
Yes.
specialty of all this love was really, it was in him, and everybody was experiencing. He could make the real love of Christ feel to the thousands and thousands of people, those who were in different parts of the world, those who were in unnoticed, abandoned, and even transcendent people.
Yes, and
They
Reverend,
also
obviously.
knew the depth of the love of Christ through him.
Yes, and Reverend, obviously, looking after these in the next 14 days, there is going to be the conclave which starts. What lessons can the future elected Pope learn from Pope Francis's tenure as the head of the Catholic Church?
See, the future Pope should learn a lesson that a Pope should be a real ambassador of Christ's love, a love which embraces everyone, irrespective of caste and creed and color and language and nation. So, and that's one thing. The other thing is that he must be an apostle of the real Catholic values. Means always appreciating, respecting, accepting, and celebrating the differences and diversity. Because in Catholic Church itself, we have 24 sui juris churches, means independent churches, self-governing churches, and all these churches, individual churches, they have their own unique way of practicing the same faith, different way of practicing the same faith. And that is, the Catholic Church itself can be called a celebration of diversity. So, celebrating diversity means celebrating humanity. That was his message. And yesterday also I have just shared that he was an ambassador of peace.
Yes.
And when he embraced everyone,
Reverend,
when he met this Dubai Sharif in this Saudi Arabia, 2 times when they have this meeting, he was embracing this Muslim leader, and then he said that peace begins when you start celebrating the other.
Yes. Thank you very much, Reverend Dr. Roby Kanachira, for joining us. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, that's all we have time for. We will continue to bring you more news updates from around the world. Thank you.